All right, let's talk about professional scalping. You ever feel like you're just drowning in market noise? It's chaos, right? Well, here's the thing. The pros aren't just guessing. They're not predicting. They're reacting to very specific, repeatable setups. And today, we're going to break down their blueprint.
So, does this sound familiar? You're glued to your chart, just trying to force the price to go your way. You're placing a bet on what you think might happen next. It's totally exhausting, and let's be honest, it's usually a losing game. Because here's the hard truth. The market doesn't care one bit about our predictions.
Okay, and this right here, this quote is the whole game. Seriously, the number one thing we're diving into is that pros do not predict, they react. That simple shift in mindset, that's what separates them from pretty much everyone else. It's all about letting the market show its hand first, and then you make your move.
So the big question is, how do they actually do it? Well, they're not looking at a million different things. They're laser-focused on just a handful of really high-probability patterns. And today we're going to pull back the curtain on the 3 essential setups they hunt for, day in and day out. Ready? Let's jump into setup number 1.
All right, first up, the opening breakout. This one is a classic. You'll see it pop up right at the market open, when all that chaos and volume hits the market. This setup is all about harnessing that initial explosive burst of momentum.
So what are we actually looking for on the chart? Simple. You're watching a key level, maybe the pre-market high, and you're waiting for the price to punch through it. But, and this is super important, the breakout alone isn't the signal. The real confirmation, the secret sauce, is that massive spike in volume. That's what tells you there's big money and real conviction driving this thing.
Okay, so let's get specific on the visual cues. Number 1, a nice, clean break of that level. No ambiguity. Number 2, and this part is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to see that volume come roaring in. That's your confirmation. A little pro tip, a lot of traders will even wait for the first little pullback after the breakout, and they'll get in as it starts moving back in the right direction.
So what's the big takeaway here? An opening breakout isn't just some random flicker on the screen. It's a massive flare, a signal that the big players are jumping in with both feet. For a scalper, that's like a giant green light saying, hey, the real momentum is just getting started.
All right, let's roll into our second setup. This one is called the VWAP Reclaim. Now, if the opening breakout was all about that raw, explosive power, the VWAP Reclaim is a little more subtle. It's about reading institutional behavior and figuring out who's really in control of the market.
Okay, so VWAP, that stands for Volume Weighted Average Price. And you gotta know, this is a huge benchmark for institutions. It's kind of like their baseline for what a fair price is throughout the day. So when you see the price dip below that line and then snap right back above it, well, that's a really, really powerful signal. So here's how it plays out step by step. First, you see the price drop below that VWAP line. But then you notice something, the selling volume starts to fade. The sellers are running out of gas, and then comes the magic moment. A big, strong candle pushes the price right back above VWAP. That is your reclaim.
And why does this matter so much? Because that reclaim tells you a story. It tells you that the move down was probably a fake out, that it was weak, and more importantly, it shows you that buyers just step back in with some serious muscle to take back that key level. Bam! Control has just shifted.
All right, time for our third and final setup, and this one is a bit more advanced. It's called the Liquidity Sweep. Now, this is the kind of pattern that absolutely traps rookie traders. But for the pros, it's a golden entry ticket.
Just think about it for a second. Where does everybody put their stop-loss orders? Right below a key support level, right? Well, the big institutions know this. So a liquidity sweep is when they intentionally push the price down just far enough to trip all those stops. It creates a flash of selling, and they use that flash, that liquidity, to scoop up all their buy orders on the cheap right before the price violently reverses and goes back up.
So how do you spot this? You're looking for a really sharp, sudden drop below a well-known support level. You might see a big spike in volume as all those stops get hit. But the real tell, the absolute key, is how fast it snaps back. If the price reclaims that level almost immediately and starts heading north, odds are you just saw a liquidity sweep. And this is why this setup is just so powerful. While everyone else is freaking out, panic selling because their stops just got wiped out, the trader who sees the sweep for what it is, they're seeing a huge reversal signal, a beautiful entry. You're suddenly trading with the big money, not getting run over by it.
Okay, so we've looked at 3 totally different setups, right? But they're all tied together by one single powerful idea, a mindset. It's the professional approach that connects all the dots.
And it really boils down to 3 simple but absolutely non-negotiable rules. Rule number 1, you wait patiently for one of these setups to form. Rule number 2, if the confirmation isn't there, if the volume is weak or the cues are sloppy, you do absolutely nothing. You skip the trade. And rule number 3, it's that discipline, doing that over and over and over again, that builds real long-term consistency.
And look, this brings us full circle right back to that core idea we started with. Professional scalpers don't guess direction. They wait for a clear, defined setup, they see confirmation in the volume, and only then do they react. That's it. That is the entire blueprint.
So, what's your new checklist? First, watch for those explosive opening breakouts. Second, learn to trade those VWAP reclaims to see who's in control. And third, start recognizing those sneaky liquidity sweeps to catch reversals. That's your new mission.
So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know what you're looking for, which one of these 3 setups are you going to start hunting for? Seriously, just picking one to focus on at first can bring so much clarity to your trading. Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.